everyone, how's it going? It's That Nerd Ryan here, and today we're reviewing Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. So, this movie's complicated. I'm gonna give like a little quick thing, and then do a recap, and then end the video there, along with giving you guys a ranking in between. I also realized my camera is very uneven. There we go. Sorry about that. But yeah, so let's go ahead and get into it. So I wasn't excited seeing this movie. Honestly, Transformers kind of died for me after The Last Knight. Even though I did enjoy Bumblebee, The Last Knight was kind of just, it soured my taste in Transformers. And this movie, honestly, borrows from The Last Knight, which we'll talk about that in the spoiler part. But this movie is very mediocre in my opinion. It's not too bad, but it's also not too good. So I kind of disliked the third act completely. There's a lot of choices that happened in that kind of made me roll my eyes and actually want to get up and leave. Like, if I wasn't shooting this video, I probably would have left. But the first two parts of the movie were very good. There's good setup. There's a point where we don't see Transformers for the first, 20 minutes of the movie. And I thought that was a good build-up. We also kind of got character development for the main human to make him likable, along with Mirage and really Optimus. I will say, this movie's Optimus, I really didn't like. It kind of gets a little too far into the bloodlust and just being an asshole, compared, worse than the Michael Bay Transformers series. Really bad, hating humans, not even, really caring for anybody but Bumblebee. I mean, it's kind of rough. I mean, I know it was bad in Age of Extinction when he's like, I'll kill you! I'll kill you! But this is literally, there's a part where he's like, I'm gonna take this key, and then I'm going to take his head. And it's like, oh my god, that's very dark for how they're trying to portray Optimus. Because this is a sequel to Bumblebee. This is not a prequel to the Michael Bay Transformers films. This is a sequel to Bumblebee. And you could tell by the main villain in this not being how they are in The Last Knight. We'll talk about that momentarily too. I don't want to spoil anything. But also the Maximals in this were pretty cool. I wish they had a little bit more development. The Terracons, or not Decepticons, the Terracons in this, I didn't care for because I only caught one of their names. Everybody else, they know for sure, they mentioned one once, and I think it was Nightblade or Nighthawk or something. And I don't think the other one ever gets their name mentioned. And I don't want to have to go down the toy aisle. I mean, I do anyways, but I don't want to have to go down the toy aisle just to figure out a character's name from a movie. But yeah, the humans were tolerable. Most of the Autobots were okay. I felt like RC was a little underdeveloped. B's barely in this movie. Wheeljack's okay. Stratosphere's okay. And Mirage is actually a lot more tolerable than I thought. So, in finality of this, the robot fights were pretty good, but the final act and the final fight gets a little out of hand and is a little too much like The Last Knight. So I am going to give this one a 6 out of 10. Very middle of the road. If I'm ranking everything, I think I go Bumblebee, Dark of the Moon, the original, this one, Revenge of the Fallen, Age of Extinction, The Last Knight. But yeah, it's literally middle of the road in this. And I do feel I know it's not ensemble cast because they're all fake robots, but that is an issue with a lot of ensemble movies, is you do get a lot of characters and only certain ones get development. But that was balanced in the Avengers. as much as I don't like the original Justice League, it was balanced in that. It was balanced in Zack Snyder's Justice League. Most movies are able to balance a ton of characters when there's a ton of characters. For whatever reason, though, Transformers is very hard to do that. It's actually interesting that this is kind of the first movie where Bumblebee doesn't get the spotlight. I mean, he has a cool scene, but other than that, it's mostly focused on Mirage and Optimus. I will say, like, I don't like Pete Davidson, and he was actually kind of tolerable in this movie as Mirage. There, like, at the beginning, I was getting annoyed, and then, like, it kind of grew on me. It's interesting. But anyways, let's move on to the spoiler part. So if you haven't seen the movie and you actually care about what happens, feel free to skip this part and come back. But yeah, so basically we're introduced that the Maximals had their planet destroyed by Unicron, and they sent off a galaxy hopping key to Earth where they were protecting it. We then are introduced to our main character Noah, who is a ex-Marine or ex-military soldier private trying to get into a job because his family's struggling. His brother has some sort of disease. I think it's supposed to be... Actually, they don't say what it is, and I'm not going to speculate because I'm not a doctor. But he has some sort of disease with sickle cells, and they can't afford treatment. So he's trying to get a job and everything, and after not getting his job, or not getting the interview, he ends up trying to steal a car. Little does he know that the car's Mirage. We also have another character named Elena, who works at a museum, and they find this weird artifact that ends up breaking and having half of that key. And she lights up a thing as he's trying to break into the car. So Optimus calls all the Autobots together in this Mirage, does a chase scene with cops, and then like kind of tries to befriend Noah while the Autobots kind of team up. They coax Noah into grabbing the key at the museum where he meets Elena, and they get chased down by these like hunter-killer frenzy like Transformers as Scourge, who is the head Terracon, Unicron's like main minion, and two other Terracons chase after or fight the Autobots. Airazor, who is a Maximal, shows up to help, but in the pursuing fight, Bumblebee literally dies. And like I'm sitting there like, okay, that doesn't make sense. They can't kill off Bumblebee. Don't worry, he comes back later on. Anyways, so Scourge ends up taking the keys, and the Autobots figure that the other half of the key's in Peru with the help of Elena. So they ask Stratosphere for help, who flies them over. They then meet up with Wheeljack, who kind of gives them the lay of the land. Again, Elena and Noah go in to steal the other half of the key. Mirage gives Noah a little like blaster thing that he uses as like a flashlight, communication device, and of course a blaster. They kill one of the frenzy robots and find that the key's not in where they thought it was, which was actually in a hidden underground city, of all things. So at that point they meet the Maximals, or the rest of the Maximals. Airazor gets attacked by Scourge, so she ends up getting corrupted. During this scene we find out that the Maximals are friendly with humans, while the Autobots aren't really. I mean, only Bumblebee was, and Mirage is. RC and Optimus and kind of Wheeljack. And I mean, we don't really get much of Stratosphere, but the three of them kind of just are neutral to humans. Optimus honestly hates them. But yeah, so they travel, or they stay with the Maximals. Airazor completely churns and steals the key for the Terracons and ends up getting killed by Optimus Primal. In that, they magically build a machine that does the most 2012 thing and shoots a laser into the sky that must be stopped You know, like, what's that movie? Oh, Transformers Dark of the Moon, and, what's that other movie? I think Age of Extinction, and, Revenge of the Fallen, and, Bumblebee, and The Last Knight, and, Suicide Squad, and Avenger. This trope is so overdone, TMNT, that you think that, like, movies would stop doing it. But no, this movie does it again. And that's not the most upsetting part about this. So they decide that they're going to send Noah and Elena in again to try to take the key, while they fight in literally plains. Like, plains, not plains, but like a grass field. Just like The Last Knight. Unicron starts teleporting in, just like Dark of the Moon and The Last Knight. And they, Mirage tries to fight Scourge alone. Scorch finds Noah, takes him out, and is trying to kill him. Mirage ends up dying for a minute, and then falls apart and becomes a Power Ranger suit for Noah. So Noah ends up fighting with Optimus against Scourge. Optimus ends up killing Scourge in a very brutal way, saying some villain-ass shit while he's doing it. And then they blow up the key, sending Unicron back. And Optimus almost dies, but they all live happily ever after. Bumblebee returned, by the way. I forgot to mention that. And the only good scene in this fight, where he does an airdrop and kills a bunch of Decepticons. And then, yeah. Like, so much is going on that I forgot to say that Bumblebee returned. But yeah, and they all live happily ever after. Autobots are hanging out. Maximals are hanging out. Elena cashed in on discovering the hidden city. And Noah goes for a job interview and ends up, like, meeting this secret government thing that the whole time I'm sitting there being like, this is Sector 7. This is Sector 7. Then he gives him a card and he flips it over and it said G.I. Joe. So it's setting up a G.I. Joe movie. And then for the post-credit scene, he rebuilds Mirage. So yeah, this entire final fight was recycled garbage. And it really bothered me. The first two parts, if it was like if the final act was like the first two acts, this movie probably would have gotten an 8 or 9 out of 10. But literally, this thing almost pushed it down to a 4. I'm being generous with a 6. Because, like, it literally, if I were to be like, I want to go back and watch that final fight, I could literally plug in, like, 3 other Transformers movies and Power Rangers and be like, okay, I watched it. I don't have to go back and pay for it. But yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Be sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell, and follow me on all my social media down below. It's That Nerd Ryan, signing off.